welcome to the first video in our Fuji X-S10 guide playlist. In this video, I'll be exploring the dials and buttons on the X-S10 camera. Let's begin with the front of the camera. Here we have the lens release button. Right now there's no lens attached to this camera, so this button is not very useful. But as a side note, if you wanted to use the camera without a lens attached, you can. All you have to do is press the menu button, go down to the setup icon, then select the button dial setting, and then shoot without lens. Setting this item to on allows the camera shutter to be released even if there's no detected lens attached. If the shoot without lens item is set to off, then the camera shutter won't operate without a detected lens attached. So you might be thinking, why in the world would I want to shoot without a lens? Well, for one, if you're using a lens not specifically made to be compatible with the Fujifilm X-S10, then the camera may not detect that a lens is attached when a lens really is attached. Therefore, in order to shoot with the lens, you have to set the shoot without lens option to on. Another reason to set the shoot without lens option to on is if you plan to attach your camera to a telescope for astrophotography or bird photography. You could also try your creativity with free lensing. So free lensing is also known as lens whacking, and it involves taking pictures without a lens attached. Instead, the lens is held a short distance away from the front of your camera. And then with a detached lens, light is able to hit the camera sensor in different angles, which can lead to interesting light flare effects in your images. But shooting with a detached lens leaves the inside of your camera exposed to dust and particles. So you notice spots on your image, check that the camera sensor is clean. So luckily, the X-S10 provides a handy sensor cleaning mode that shakes the image sensor in hopes that the dust will fall off. The sensor cleaning option can be found under Menu, Setup icon, User Setting, and then Sensor Cleaning. Selecting OK will attempt to clean the sensor immediately. If you select when switched on, then the camera will attempt to clean the sensor when the camera is first powered on. And similarly, if sensor cleaning is set to when switched off, then the camera will attempt to clean the sensor when the camera is powered off from shooting mode. Alright, now let's get back to actually attaching a lens. To later detach the lens, press and hold the lens detach button and twist counterclockwise. And next up on the front of the X-S10 camera is the AF Assist Illuminator / Self Timer lamp. When the AF Illuminator function is on, this lamp is going to light up when the shutter button is pressed halfway down, and that's just to help the camera to focus easier in low light environments. Now if you wanted to disable the AF Illuminator function, you can go to Menu, AF/MF, and then select the AF Illuminator and then turn it off. So now at the top of the camera body grip is the front command dial, which can be rotated. The function of the front command dial varies with the shooting mode. So when you're in the auto shooting mode, rotating the front command dial will adjust the film simulation options. When you're in the program AE or filter mode, the front command dial will perform a program shift. If you're in the shutter priority mode, the front command dial will adjust the shutter speed. If you're in aperture priority mode or manual mode, then the front command dial will adjust aperture settings. And then if you're in the scene position mode, rotating the front command dial will select a different scene. When you're in the menus, then the front command dial can be used to navigate through menu tabs or pages. When the quick menu is popped up, then the front command dial can be used to select items within that quick menu. And then when you're in playback mode, the front command dial can be used to navigate through the files. Alright, now also at the front of the camera are two microphones. Try not to cover these when you want to capture audio. Moving to the side of the camera, you've got the camera strap eyelets, so you can attach your camera strap. On this side of the camera, we have a 3.5mm microphone jack, so you can connect an external microphone if you wish. Or instead of a microphone, you can also use this port to connect a remote release, such as this one. Basically, it's a remote that can trigger the shutter, which helps to reduce the camera shake that occurs when you physically press the shutter button. So it helps keep your image sharp and shake free. Next port is a Type-C USB connector, and the following port is a Type-D HDMI micro connector. And at the bottom you have a speaker. So on the bottom, you've got the battery and memory card chamber and the tripod mount. And another thing to note here is the camera can be set to allow a picture to be taken even if there's no memory card in the camera. To configure shooting without a card, go to Menu, the setup icon, button dial settings, and then select shoot without card. Selecting on will allow the shutter button to be released even if there's no memory card, and then setting it to off will mean that the camera can't take a picture if there's no memory card. At the top of the camera is the all-important power switch to turn your camera on and off. Another important button is the shutter button, and the X-S10 also has a dedicated movie recording button. Press this once to begin your movie recording, and then press this again to stop the movie recording. Here's the ISO button, so you can quickly change your ISO settings. Next is the quick menu button. Pressing this will bring up the quick menu. We'll have another video to cover the quick menu more in depth. So the next item on the top is the rear command dial. And just like the front command dial, the rear command dial can be rotated to adjust different settings. And the function of the rear command dial also varies with the shooting mode. So when you're in auto, program AE, shutter priority, or aperture priority mode, rotating the rear command dial can adjust the exposure compensation. When you're in manual mode, the rear command dial will adjust shutter speed. When you're in scene position or filter mode, rotating the rear command dial will adjust the exposure compensation. If you're in the menu, then rotating the rear command dial will highlight menu items. If you're in the quick menu, rotating the rear command dial will adjust quick menu settings. And if you're in playback mode, viewing your pictures and videos, then rotating the rear command dial will zoom in or out during playback. Next is the mode dial, which you can use to select the shooting mode that your camera will be in. And again, we'll cover the different modes more in depth in a following video. Next on the top of the camera is the hot shoe, where you can attach things like an external flash. And next is the image sensor position mark. And this is the flash pop-up lever to open up the built-in flash. And last is the function dial. So by default, the function dial adjusts the filter selection when in filter mode, or it adjusts the film simulation selection in other modes. You can change the function of this dial by going to the setup menu, button dial settings, and selecting the function FN setting. And if turning a dial is not your style, then there's also a traditional function button on the back of the camera. The operation of the function button is also set within the function FN setting menu item. So the label buttons on the camera, such as the ISO, Q, are also actually function buttons, to which you can change their assigned functions. So moving to the back of the camera, we have the drive or delete button. We'll talk about the various drive modes in another video. Next is the playback button. You'll press this to review your images and videos that you've taken. And next is the EVF, which stands for electronic viewfinder. To the left of the viewfinder is the diopter adjustment control. And below the viewfinder is the eye sensor. So this is used for if you want the camera to automatically turn off the LCD monitor when the camera detects that your eye is looking through the viewfinder. Next is the auto exposure lock button. This requires a little bit more explaining, so we'll cover that in its own video. And the same goes for the next button, which is the auto focus on button. We'll have another video exploring that. This little lamp here is the indicator tally light. So the indicator lamp can also clue you into the camera status. If the indicator lamp is steady orange, then it means recording is in progress and the camera is unable to take additional photos at that time. So the tally light function means the lamp can blink when movie recording is in progress. So the AF Illuminator lamp in the front of the camera can also act as a tally light. So the X-S10 lets you customize the tally light settings under the movie menu, then tally light option. This little knob here is the focus stick or focus lever. You can tilt this lever or you actually can push it in. This stick can be used to navigate through the menu items or move your focus point, among other things. So if you hit the menu button and then go to the setup icon and select button dial setting, focus lever setting, and then push, that's gonna determine the operation for when you push in the focus lever. You can select off, which means no operation is going to be performed when you press the center of the focus stick, Otherwise, you can select edit focus area, which means that when you press the center of the focus stick, you'll view the focus area display, and then you can tilt the stick to select a focus area. The other option is zoom, which means when you press the center of the focus stick, it's going to zoom in on the focus area that is currently active. So what happens when the focus stick is tilted? So that can also be customized under the menu, setup icon, button dial setting, and then focus lever setting, and select tilt. That also can be set to off so that if you tilt the focus stick, there's no effect. The next option is direct AF point selection, which means if you tilt the focus stick, you can select a focus area without exiting from the shooting display. And then there's the edit focus area option. You tilt the focus stick to view the focus area display and select a focus area. There's also the direct AF point selection / face select option. With this option, you can tilt the focus stick to select a focus area without having to exit the shooting display. And then if the face eye detection setting is set to face detection on, then tilting the focus stick will let you choose the face that will be used to focus. We have another important button here, which is the menu OK button. Use this button to bring up the camera menu and confirm selections, much like you would use the enter key on your keyboard. The final button is the display back button. You can use this button to change the different camera displays, and we'll see the different displays in another video. And last but not least, on the back of the camera is the LCD monitor. The X-S10 has an articulating monitor, means that you can tilt it up to take low angle shots, or you can tilt it down to take high angle shots. You can swivel the monitor a full 180 degrees so that you can see the monitor in selfie view while you're in front of the camera. And then of course you can flip the monitor back in toward the body for normal shooting, or return it to the closed position for storage. So now that we've covered the buttons and dials of the X-S10, we can start exploring how to use them in our next videos.